Thousands of striking auto workers hold up signs with that slogan as they fight for better wages. In their words, they're fighting for the American dream.
The American dream as we know it is dead. There is no reviving the American dream.
You have a master's degree.
I do.
And other education.
I do.
And you're out on the streets.
I am.
I think it's safe to say that the American dream as we have been sold it, that our parents and grandparents lived, is, for most of us, dead.
How could this be? Never in my lifetime did I ever think that we would be in this situation. This is America.
Perhaps you are also feeling this. The American dream is gradually fading. It is no longer built on hours of hard work, no longer guaranteed by a small house, a full meal, or the hope that future generations will have a better life. Nowadays, for millions of people, the American dream is just a slogan printed on billboards, a paragraph in political speeches, or a dream trapped among trash, tents, and the chill seeping under the bridge. The homelessness crisis is no longer a stranger. It has become and is becoming the new normal in cities that were once considered the pinnacle of opportunity. From the elderly, veterans, single parents, or even those who once belonged to the middle class, anyone can slip across the fragile boundary between lying on a warm bed or on a cold sidewalk. This is no longer a prediction, but is gradually becoming a reality. And it is spreading like a wildfire that no one can control. In today's video, I invite you to face the reality happening in the 10 largest cities in the United States, where the bright lights cannot hide the cold of the dark night, and the glamour cannot obscure the thousands of people struggling every day to survive. As usual, this is not a pessimistic warning, but a perspective reflecting multiple sources to help the community understand better and prepare proactively. Are you ready to explore the first city? Let's start right now. New York used to be the dream destination for those with ambition. People come here with the belief, as long as they work hard, they can change their lives. But today, even those who once tried their hardest are sleeping under the bright lights of Times Square. With over 158,000 homeless people, New York is currently the city with the largest number of homeless individuals in the United States, accounting for nearly 20% of the national total. But the numbers cannot fully capture the loneliness that seeps into each person lying in the streets, next to piles of trash and the familiar smell of urine to the point where they no longer feel anything. Have you ever heard the story about the people living in coffins? That's right, you heard it correctly. It's in those coffin homes. Many people in this most luxurious city in America are having to live in wooden boxes less than 1.5 meters wide and where they can't even stand up or stretch their arms. But the price of having a roof over their heads is not cheap at all. They have to pay up to $650 a month to live in a coffin. What about those who can no longer afford to rent a home? They sleep on the streets, even having to compete for each park bench to find a place to rest. Some others live under the sewer system, in subway tunnels, where day and night no longer hold any meaning. The rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan has exceeded $4,000 a month, a figure that even the middle class finds hard to bear, and this amount is even more unattainable for retirees or blue-collar workers. 40% of workers in New York are having to spend more than half of their income just to have a place to live. And meanwhile, thousands of people still live in cars, in converted containers, or under bridges. Once considered the promised land of opportunity, it has now become a place where even the chance to live decently is disappearing.
Well, no matter where I live, I'm a square peg and this is a round hole. So no matter where I live, I don't fit.
New York no longer has a place for those who have dedicated their entire lives to serving and building it. And perhaps the most haunting thing is not the sight of tents set up between the Statue of Liberty and the skyscrapers, but the feeling that no one is surprised by this crisis anymore. When homelessness becomes the new normal in urban life, it is not just a sign of a city in decline. It is a wake-up call for an entire nation. If New York, once the birthplace of the American dream, can lose its soul like this, then what will happen to the other cities? Could it be that the American dream only becomes a reality when we are asleep and dreaming about it, as George Carlin once said? There was a time when stepping foot in Los Angeles felt like entering a movie, a vibrant, glamorous American dream brimming with hope. But today's Los Angeles is still like a movie, only now there are no dazzling lights or scenes of prosperity. Instead, there are scenes of ruin, as if it were a never-ending post-apocalyptic world, and no beautiful ending in sight. What is happening is not fiction, but stark reality, where more than 70,000 people without a roof over their heads are struggling to survive among streets that were once paved with glory. Skid Row, the epicenter of the homelessness crisis, also known as the capital of the never-ending homelessness crisis. Here, more than 4,400 people cram into tattered tents amidst the overpowering stench of urine and garbage. When night falls, Los Angeles is no longer the city of stars, but becomes the stage for a dark play. The shadows wandering on the sidewalks, the rickety tents, the vacant stairs, look no different from a post-apocalyptic scene in The Walking Dead. However, there are no zombies here. Only people, living as if invisible, trapped in the vicious cycle of poverty, illness, and despair. Housing prices in LA have reached $3,000 per month, nearly double the average Social Security benefit. More than half of households spend over 30% of their income just to rent a roof over their heads. As for the elderly, the disabled, or the sick, their pension is already very meager, not even enough to buy a decent meal, let alone cover rent. But that's not all. Other costs such as transportation, essentials, and medical expenses are also rising faster than a blink of an eye. Going to the supermarket or shopping has gradually become a burden, just as seeing their empty pantry has slowly turned into a new fear. Because just holding the bill can cause their entire house and American dream to completely collapse. More and more people are leaving Los Angeles, but not everyone has a place to go. Those who are left behind are often the most vulnerable. The elderly, the sick, the lonely. They are stuck here, along with the American dream. Los Angeles, the city of angels. But perhaps we also inadvertently forget that Lucifer was once an angel. And perhaps it is here that people have forgotten the fragile boundary between heaven and hell. So the question arises, if one of the wealthiest and most famous cities in America, the center of media, culture, and dreams, can collapse like this, what will stop other places from sharing the same fate? But what is happening in Los Angeles is only part of the story. The next city, once considered the jewel of Silicon Valley, is falling in an even more heartbreaking way. San Francisco, the golden city of America. Admired for its graceful hills, colorful Victorian houses, and a creative community always ahead of its time. But if you step out of that postcard and delve into streets like Tenderloin or Civic Center, you'll see a very different San Francisco, where more than 38,000 people huddle in tents in the city center, living day by day under the sound of car horns and the lonely red lights from the Golden Gate Bridge. The cost of renting a one-bedroom apartment here has exceeded $3,400 a month, a price that even the middle class finds hard to bear, let alone retirees living on Social Security benefits of just under $1,800. Those who once had a stable life, paid taxes, and raised their children to be good people are now forced to leave the place they once called home. When chains like Walgreens and Whole Foods successively flee from downtown, the residents lose more than just a shopping place. They lose the feeling of living in a civilized community where everyone is respected. Now, the elderly have to stand in long lines just to receive free meals from the church, have to count every penny for the bus, and eat irregularly because cheap food has almost disappeared. They are no longer living, they are just trying to survive. Ironically, San Francisco remains the world's leading technology hub. The glamorous headquarters of the tech giants still shine brightly, still sell ideas about the future. But beneath them are the people whom the future has forgotten. The feeling of being submerged in a city that was once a symbol of hope has created an invisible crack, deep enough to make an entire generation feel sidelined in modern society. The American dream did not disappear overnight. It dies slowly, quietly, from the moment the elderly no longer dare to open their windows because of the stench that seeps in, to when they realize that the nearest hospital is overwhelmed and no one calls them neighbors anymore. So, if even San Francisco, the once best place to start a life, is crumbling day by day, is there anywhere in America that can truly be a homecoming for the vulnerable? Imagine someone stepping off the plane at Las Vegas airport for the first time. The dazzling lights, the limousines, the flashing billboards that blink all night catch the eye. Everything is like a dream overflowing with light and joy. But if they veer off the main boulevard, if they quietly walk behind the casinos, they will see another Las Vegas, a place that never makes it onto postcards. That's a place where people don't smile, not because they don't want to, but because they are busy surviving. There, in the scorching heat of the Nevada desert, hundreds of people live under tarps, in the underground sewer system, literally. The pipes, once designed to carry rainwater, have now become homes for those who have no way to go back to the surface. When the city above is gambling with millions of dollars, below, people are betting their entire lives just to keep breathing. Las Vegas, a paradise for the daring, yet a hell for those with no choice. It was once called the city that never sleeps, but what it hides very well is that there are thousands of people who also never sleep, because they don't even have a bed, because they fear their sleeping bags will be stolen, because there is nowhere safe enough to close my eyes. This city pushes the elderly and low-income individuals to the margins, not through laws, but through the silent increase of costs. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Vegas has surpassed $1,300 a month, a figure that seems low to those coming from the East Coast, but is a mountain for someone living on less than $900 a month in Social Security benefits. The pain of these people is not just the lack of a roof over their heads, but the fact that no one sees them, even though they are right there, under the bridge, by the trash can, behind the glittering casino building. They used to be waiters, stage technicians, security guards. But now, what about them? They have become the marginalized of society, hidden within the city, enveloped by a facade of glamour. The most beautiful image of Vegas is from afar, when you haven't stepped closer. But the closer you get, the more you see the shattered lives in the corners of the streets. All that you have just seen is reliable information that I have compiled and analyzed from multiple perspectives. So what should we call such a city? Is it a radiant paradise? Or is it a place where light exists only to cover up a greater darkness? The answer depends on each person. What about you? What do you think about this issue? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Seattle is getting colder, not just because of the weather, but because a city that was once gentle with everyone is now gradually closing its heart to the most vulnerable. In the shadow of the Amazon, Microsoft and Starbucks headquarters are hundreds of makeshift tents, hastily set up along sidewalks, parks, and even under the windows of modern office buildings. Those people no longer have a home to return to. They live crowded together amidst the drizzle and cold. No one hears their voices, not because they don't speak, but because their voices no longer reach those soundproof glass buildings. Someone once asked, why, in a place with sky-high GDP, advanced technology, and rich culture, are thousands of people sleeping on wet ground? The painful answer is that the system was built to serve growth rates, not people. The rent for a small apartment in Seattle has now exceeded $2,200 per month, 50% higher than 10 years ago. Retirees who once worked their entire lives at local tech companies now live cramped in camps or park trucks in Walmart lots. They contributed to building the city, but the city seems to have no room for them anymore. Seattle used to be a place where people came to live in rhythm, gently, with depth and a sense of community. But today, that city is becoming a place where even the people living there no longer know whether they are still considered a part of it or not. There are cities that don't overwhelm you at first glance, but make you remember them long after you've left. Portland used to be a place like that. The rustic city amidst Oregon's nature, where people leisurely bike across wooden bridges, where coffee shops are not in a hurry, where retirees from all over America flock due to the mild climate, friendly community, and easygoing pace of life. But now, when people think of Portland, the first thing that comes to mind is no longer roses or the free public library, but tents. More than 6,000 homeless people are scattered throughout the city, and that number keeps increasing. What saddens the people is not just their dense presence, but the familiarity. Because now everyone knows there is a camp near their home. Every Portland resident knows at least one once quiet street that now has to be avoided because they don't want to disturb the people sleeping under thin tarps. The cost of renting a home in Portland has exceeded $2,000 a month for an average apartment, something that was once considered unimaginable less than 10 years ago. Those who once came here to live a minimalist life are now forced to simplify to the point of not even being able to afford a door. For the elderly, retirees, and those living on Social Security, Portland is now a strange vortex. Staying is exhausting, leaving is uncertain. Because everywhere is the same. Once livable cities, now battlegrounds for housing and survival. The City of Roses once had the scent of books, of cinnamon rolls, of rain-soaked awnings. Now, it smells of something we don't want to mention. And if Portland, once a symbol of kindness and tranquility, can no longer uphold dignity for the vulnerable, then is there any city that can? Philadelphia is not a city that leaves you in awe at first glance. It doesn't have the glamour of New York, the brightness of Las Vegas, or the coolness of Seattle. But there is one thing that makes it impossible to take your eyes off Philly, that feeling of both familiarity and nostalgia. As if looking back at the very childhood of an aging, ailing America, gradually losing its own memories. This is the birthplace of the Declaration of Independence, the cradle of American democracy, where every cobblestone in Old City is steeped in history. But today, people no longer stop to read the Founding Fathers' testament, because there are too many lives struggling right at the foot of the monument. Philadelphia currently has over 5,700 homeless people, a number that seems mild compared to giants like LA or NYC. But you have to put that number in the context of a city with the highest poverty rate among major US cities, where 23% of the population lives below the poverty line. Even the city centre, once a symbol of prosperity, now sees an increasing number of spontaneous living nooks, makeshift sleeping spots made of cardboard, nylon bags, and worn-out hopes. People are no longer surprised to see an elderly woman sitting in the middle of the street with a handwritten sign. I used to work in the city library. Philadelphia is not collapsing. It drifts quietly, like a rudderless ship. The values that once made this city revered, enlightenment, justice, community, are now eroded by poverty, vice, and a welfare system that has stopped caring. The City of Freedom has become the city of the left behind. So, if a place that once birthed the dream of democracy is now where thousands of people no longer have the right to dream, what does that say about America today? There is nothing more intense than the heat in Phoenix. It's not like fire. It's like a giant hand pressing down on your chest all day, every hour. In a place where summer temperatures reach 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius, no one deserves to live outside. Yet thousands of people are still doing it. Not because they chose to, but because they had no choice left. Phoenix, the largest city in Arizona, has become a massive furnace, not just of temperature, but of injustice. Every year, the number of homeless people here skyrockets, surpassing 10,000. But what hurts people the most is not the number, but the place they are forced to live. Right on the scorching concrete, amidst the streets, public parks, parking lots, or worse, in heat-absorbing tents like crematoriums. For the elderly, the decline of life does not come from illness, but from heat shock, from isolation, from the inability to move far, to find a place with free air conditioning. They cannot leave Phoenix, nor can they escape the sun. They can only entrust their fate to a corner of the sidewalk and pray that tomorrow's weather will be a little gentler. Someone once said, "Phoenix is the city of the sun," but for us, the sun is a sentence. The makeshift roofs do not block the sunlight. Plastic sandals do not protect the feet. And half-hearted policies cannot save the lives of the forgotten, who are burning slowly day by day. Chicago was once a symbol of industry, of music, of the strength of the working class. The Windy City, where immigrants flocked to build factories, where black people migrated from the South to seek freedom. A city alive with the sound of trains, steel smoke, and hope. But today, if you walk along the South Side or West Garfield Park, what you hear is no longer the rhythm of life, but the shattering sound of things once thought unbreakable. Chicago currently has more than 65,000 homeless people. Among them, tens of thousands are hidden homeless. They sleep on relatives' sofas, crowd into temporary shelters, or live in old cars parked on the street. But what is even more frightening is the increasing number of people who are completely homeless each year, especially during the harsh winter, when a cold snap can destroy the American dream in just a few hours. Housing costs are no longer just an issue for the poor. Even the middle class is being squeezed. The rent for a two-bedroom apartment in the affordable area has exceeded $1,800 per month, while the average salary in many service industries is not enough to live independently. Those who have worked for 30 to 40 years contributing to the city now have to choose between paying the winter gas bill or buying high blood pressure medication. Chicago used to be a city where you could start over. But nowadays, too many people can't start anything, because they are spending all day caught up in the whirlwind of searching for opportunities to survive. If a city like Chicago, once a place that created jobs, created jazz music, created the very identity of America, is now being abandoned by those it once supported, then what are we losing? Denver, the city known as the gateway to the Rockies, once a paradise for those who love mountains, skiing, or simply breathing cleaner air amidst the suffocating American lifestyle. But now, amidst the golden sunlight shining on the distant snow-capped peaks, you will see another image clearly in sight. Tents stretching along the road leading into the city center. These people are not camping out of passion, but because they have no other choice to call home. Denver currently has over 9,000 homeless people, and this number has rapidly increased in just the past few years. The reason you probably don't need to look far for it. The cost of renting in Denver has skyrocketed. An average one-bedroom apartment now exceeds $1,800 per month. For the elderly living on Social Security, under $1,000. For the unemployed youth, for single-parent families. That price is not just high, it is a wall. And beyond that wall, there are sidewalks, parks, and the parking lots of 24-hour supermarkets. The city has tried, organizing shelters, experimenting with transitional housing. But the demand far exceeds the capacity to meet it. Hundreds of people still sleep outdoors every night, even when it snows. They discovered the frozen body of a person right next to the tent. The heartbreaking thing is, this no longer shocks anyone. It happens often enough to be considered normal. If even a city like Denver, with its fresh air and ideal lifestyle, allows thousands of people to struggle daily in the darkness of neglect, then where is there a truly safe place for those who have nothing left to lose? The 10 cities you just passed through are not just names on a map. They used to be symbols. It was hope. It is where Americans place their dreams of a better life. But now those symbols are cracking day by day, night by night, beneath tattered tents, dreams, and restless sleep amidst the city streets. In a country so wealthy that it can send people to Mars, yet cannot keep its citizens with a roof over their heads to sleep under, we should ask ourselves, is there still a place in the American dream for those who are dreaming, when they can no longer afford a pillow to rest their heads on? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated with our latest videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Please note, the information in the video is compiled from public and reliable sources, aimed at analysis and providing a reference perspective. The video is not intended to incite, criticize individuals, or provide financial legal advice. Viewers should consider additional information before making a decision.